The Federated States of Micronesia's president says the nation is barely hanging on because the compacts of free association have not yet been approved. The agreements grant the US military access to compact of free association nations, which are given financial assistance in return. Palau, Marshall Islands and the Federated States of Micronesia, in a letter penned to the United States Senate, says delays are causing uncertainty. FSM President Wesley Semina told Caleb Fotheringham there will be economic and social instability if the compacts are not passed in time.
Well, our current situation right now is that we're barely hanging on, and that is simply because of the continuing resolutions that the United States Congress has adopted to continue a stream of funding for its own operation, which includes us, the FAS countries. So to that extent, we are grateful that we are still receiving funding, although the funding is not at the same level as that would be in our new agreement with the United States.
Last time you spoke with RNZ Pacific, you said FSM was starting to fall down a fiscal cliff. Have you fallen yet? What's the situation?
At this moment, because of the non-approval of our compact agreements, we are hanging on there. We are hanging on the cliff, but haven't fallen yet. But that we don't know. We're still depending on what the U.S. Congress will do in terms of providing funding to our governments. And in saying that, we are worried that the deadlines for those continuing resolutions, which are March 1st and March 8th, are approaching fast. And if the U.S. Congress cannot agree on providing further continuing resolution funding, then, of course, we will fall off the cliff. And that's what's worrisome to us right now. We're really worried that without approval of the compact to make our funding more permanent, then we are facing that fiscal cliff.
What would falling off this fiscal cliff look like?
Oh, it's I cannot even imagine what it would be like. I know it would be very disastrous to our operations because while our national government would be okay, our four states would depend largely on the compact funding, will not be able to sustain their operations. And that would create both economic and social instability, and not to mention political instability. And that's what's worrisome to leaders in our nation, that the lack of funding would create that kind of instability, especially in our four states, which make up our nation, our national government. So we are very much worried about that.
What are the main financial challenges the FSM faces right now?
Right now, of course, the challenge is in our revenue sources. As you know, about 70 or more % of our revenues for the four states come from the compact funding. And if that doesn't, if that's not continued, then of course we will have to find other means of financing our state's governments. And right now we're looking at all kinds of options on how to do that.
You were saying before that you were hoping that the compacts will be approved in March, obviously coming up pretty soon. Are you feeling confident that they will be approved?
Confident? Well, I'm not sure about confident, but I am hopeful. I am hopeful that the U.S. Congress will see the need for them to do their part in approving our compact agreements, because we have done our parts. We have approved it as required by our agreements, but we're now just waiting for the United States Congress to do its part, to approve it and provide the funding for our operations.
What would be your message to the US?
Well, my message to U.S. is that we are a patient people, a patient government. We understand their processes, but we hope they will also understand that they have just celebrated the second anniversary of their Indo-Pacific strategy, and we are very much part of that. So I hope they can be reminded that the FAS countries are just as much part of their Indo-Pacific strategy as other partners that they have in this region. So we would just ask that the U.S. Congress would continue its prioritization of the approval of the Compact of Free Association Agreements so that we can have much more continuity, predictability, and in the stream of funding for our governments.